Hello everyone, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to Dr. Teeth. Today we are going to start with another multiple choice questions with Dr. Teeth. The topic today is on cast partial denture or removable partial denture. Now I am hitting on different subjects just to get your feedback, your response with the multiple choice questions. So if I get a positive response, I'm going to continue it. Otherwise, I'll keep it at halt. So make sure that if you like this series, do let me know in the comment section below so that I can know whether I should continue it or not. So let's get started. And also, if you are new to this channel, make sure to subscribe and join our lovely community. Now, the first question is the flexibility of a clasp arm is inversely proportional to the length of the clasp, directly proportional to the clasp diameter, more for the cast clasp compared to the wrought clasp, and inversely proportional to the diameter of the clasp. So here the question is talking about the flexibility of the clasp arm. Okay, now I'm already making notes on this cast partial dentures and that will be available within a couple of days, but for now I'll just share a little portion of my digital notes and explain the question, okay, and the explanation. So the flexibility aka deflection of the retentive clasp arm, it can be influenced by this formula, and that is D is equal to, so D refers to the deflection or the flexibility. D is equal to 4PL cube divided by EWT cube. Now here this P is the applied force, L is the length, right? E is the modulus of elasticity, W is the beam width, okay, the clasp width, right? And T is the beam thickness or the clasp thickness, okay? So as we can see here that the flexibility is proportional to the length, okay? And when we compare the flexibility to the cross-sectional form, we have two types of cross-sections in the clasp. Either it can be a round clasp or it can be a semi-round or half-round clasp, right? Now because we have a circular cross-section here, this type of clasp can flex in all the directions as is shown by the arrows here, okay? But this right here, this half-round clasp, it can only flex in a plane that is perpendicular to this flat surface. You can see this flat surface here. It can only flex in a plane that is perpendicular to this. So here the stress distribution is limited compared to this one. Now the cross-sectional diameter, the flexibility is inversely proportional to the cross-sectional diameter. Then longitudinal taper, we need to have a uniform taper, okay? So this right here is a clasp. As we are moving from the origin to the terminal end, we have a taper, right? It is getting thinner and thinner. So we need to have a uniform taper. And the curvature also should be in one plane. It's not that, it can be in any plane in three-dimensional space. It has to be in one plane. If it is not in one plane, it will become more rigid. And then lastly, metallurgical characteristics of the alloy. So if an alloy has a high elastic modulus, there will be low flexibility. Example is cobalt chromium, nickel chromium. They have a high elastic modulus. Therefore, they have less flexibility or they are more rigid. Now coming back to the question, the flexibility of the clasp arm is inversely proportional to the length of the clasp. That is not correct because flexibility is directly proportional to the length of the clasp. As the length increases, the flexibility will increase. Second option is directly proportional to the clasp diameter. That is also not correct. It is actually inversely proportional to the clasp diameter. When the diameter increases, flexibility will decrease. Obviously, the thicker it is, the lesser flexibility it will have, right? This is also not correct. Incorrect, incorrect. Then more for the cast clasp compared to the wrought clasp. This is also not correct because in fact the flexibility of the wrought clasp is more compared to the cast. So the only correct option we have is this, inversely proportional to the diameter of the clasp. Coming to the next question, if space between the gingival margin of the lower anteriors and the floor of mouth is less than 8 mm, what type of major connector is indicated? Linguoplate, sublingual bar, labial bar, lingual bar. Now, in the lingual bar, if you have seen my video, I'm not sure. So this right here, this is the cross section of a lingual bar, okay? Now, in the video or in the textbook, you might have seen that the distance from here to here, means the distance of the lingual bar should be 5 mm, okay? And the distance from the gingival margin to the superior portion of this lingual bar should be 3 mm, okay? So from here to here, it should be 3 mm, okay? So the total is 8 mm. So if this space we are having, then we can go for, lingual bar. But since we do not have a space here, this goes out of question, right? Then we have the labial bar. Labial bar obviously is on the labial side, okay? We usually give labial bar when the alignment of these teeth are not proper, so that, this labial bar can have a proper path of placement, okay? So this is also out of question. We have the sublingual bar. This goes even deeper, right, in the floor of the mouth. So that is also not an option because we don't have a space. The only option left is the linguoplate. So this major connector, it resembles a plate and it starts from the, cingulum portion of the teeth and extends downward. Next question, multiple clasp has the following characteristics. So we are talking about this clasp. Absence of reciprocal arm. Obviously, this is not correct because we have a reciprocal arm here. Can be used in all edentulous situations? No, that is not the case. Two circumferential clasp originating in opposite direction from the terminal end of the reciprocal arm. And then we have the two circumferential clasp originating in the same direction from the reciprocal arm. So since they are originating from the opposite direction, right, this will be the correct answer. Two circumferential clasp originating in opposite direction from the terminal end of the reciprocal arm. The next question is snowshoe effect indicates. So here we have our snowshoe. Now as you can see here, these shoes have a broad base, right? Why? Because we want to dissipate the forces that is acting on the snow so that the person or the leg of the person does not sink inside the snow, right? So obviously we got the answer here. It indicates broad coverage. So how this snowshoe effect applies in prosthodontics, especially in RPD since we are talking about this. So while designing the prosthesis, we need to make sure that we have a proper tissue coverage, because if we have inadequate tissue coverage, there can be concentration of stresses, like we have a concentration of stresses on this snow and the person's leg can sink in, or the person can sink little, it will be difficult for him to walk because the legs goes a little deeper if they have a normal shoe. Similarly, if we have inadequate tissue coverage, this can lead to stress distribution, okay? So that can lead to, unwanted forces on the ridges and subsequently ridge resorption. So we have the correct answer as the broad coverage. Occlusal rest in the RPD provides all of the following except. So here we are talking about this thing right here. This is the occlusal rest. It prevents soft tissue impingement. Yes, it does. Does it give support? Yes. Then does it prevent the lifting of denture bases? The answer is no. So here we have the correct answer. Prevent lifting of the denture bases and align the forces along the long axis of the tooth. So that is also correct. They align the forces along the long axis of tooth. They provide support and also they prevent the soft tissue impingement. So this is the answer. Retention from Ruge is a type of, so that is a type of indirect retention. It does not have a direct retention or does not have a characteristics of being a stress breaker or stress equalizer. So that is the correct answer. It provides the indirect retention. Then during surveying of CPD, purpose of tilt of the cast? Is it to achieve maximum guiding plane, create undercut, obtain a favorable path of insertion, or obtain retention? The answer is obtain a favorable path of insertion. That is why we do surveying. We have to obtain a favorable path of insertion by tilting of the cast. The disadvantage of using a stress breaker in partial denture is, so the function of a stress breaker is that instead of applying forces on the abutment teeth, it directs the forces on the residual ridges. But the disadvantage here is that it can cause ridge resorption, obviously because it is directing the forces on the ridges. So here we have the correct answer. The tripod marks are placed on the cast after surveying for which of the following reasons? Is it to record the undercut areas on the abutment teeth? To mount the cast on the articulator? We are talking about these tripod marks, right? So is it to mount the cast on the articulator? To record the orientation of the cast to the articulator? Or to record the orientation of the cast to the surveyor? So this is the correct answer. We do the tripod marking so that we can orient the cast again to the surveyor, okay? Now major connectors of a maxillary RPD may be beaded too. So why do we need to do beading? Here you can see this portion right here. This represents the beading. We create a 0.5 mm depression in the posterior seal area so that the metal goes and it contacts the tissues and actually lifts the posterior tissues a bit. So why do we do that? Is it done to produce a stronger framework? No. Does it aid in retention of RPD? No. Hold acrylic resin to the metal? Obviously not. Produce positive contact with the tissue? Yes, it produces a positive contact with the tissue since we are getting our metal a little lifted here because of the beading by creating a space. So it produces a positive contact with the tissue. And since we have a good contact here with the tissues, there will be no food entry in between the prosthesis and the mucosa. So that is a plus point. So that's the correct answer. So that's all about today's multiple choice questions. I hope you found the video helpful. I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Allah Hafiz.